Welcome to the Romantasy Library.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Romantasy Library. I'm your host, Kate Perkins, and today I am interviewing wickedly romantic fantasy author L.J. Andrews. L.J. writes romantasies that are filled with magic, love, and happy endings. L.J. has written the Broken Kingdom series and the Everseas series. She recently released Miss Thief, which was available and released on June 30th. And then the fourth book, right, in the series, A Stolen Crown, will be released in October. Is that correct?
I'll have some announcements on the episode.
Okay.
So hang tight.
Cool. Hang tight on that one. Anyway, LJ, I'm so honored to talk with you today. How are you doing?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, doing okay. Yes, I'm so happy to be here with you.
Yeah.
Can I ask what's the update on Miss Thief real fast before we get started? Because I just
The Miss Thief?
Oh, not Miss Thief. Dang it. Stolen Crown. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. There's just some new things that are happening with the Everseas that will be announced hopefully soon. And so it just, dates might change, but it's still coming for sure. The Everseas will be about 6 books. So it still has some more to come.
Nice. Awesome. So, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Yes. I'm so excited.
It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I'm really enjoying this series. It's been a really fun series.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love it. So LJ, where are you from? Born, raised?
So I, as a kid, lived all over the place. I wasn't born here, but I live in Utah right now. That's where I mostly grew up, but I was born like clear across in Michigan and stuff like that. So my parents moved around a lot when I was a little kid, and then we kind of settled in Utah. So
nice.
Yeah.
What was the reason for you guys moving around?
My dad's job. He did international business, so we were just always moving and stuff.
Sure.
Like that. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun. So.
Yeah. So settled in Utah, and that's kind of where you're about right now.
Yeah.
We live
there, and we like the mountains. We're mountain bikers, and we have a horse and things like that. So.
Oh my gosh, that's so much fun! Did you grow up with animals like that then?
Not large animals. Okay. No, my husband did. He grew up on a farm, but
fun.
So it's. Yes. But I love property. I don't know if it's just like I like to just wave from across my field at neighbors, but I don't know.
That sounds fabulous.
They're so fun.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're near the mountains and you have a horse. Oh my gosh, this sounds lovely. Does that help with your writing? Like being in a beautiful environment like this?
I love it. I've always loved mountains and things like that. It's kind of serene. So, and we live in a pretty small town, so that's nice too. Mm-hmm. So it's just, we're surrounded by mountains. We're in a little valley, so it's nice. I love it.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. So growing up, when did the love of writing begin for you? And I don't know if you could pinpoint it. And
from the beginning, my mom has this old home video of me like in the closet at like 2, just like reading my little board books and stuff, like just hiding away from everyone, just reading. But I distinctly remember I was the kid that if I had like a daydream, I would write it out in story form and like draw little pictures with it. And so, if I wanted something to happen, I would write a story about it. And then so cool. When I got into like middle school and that age, I found some of my old books. Like my mom gave it to me. And it basically was like the 90s teen movies. I was just writing those stories, but like changing names. So let's
I love it.
Do you remember She's All That with like Freddie Prinze Jr.? I was obsessed with that movie. And so I rewrote that plot, the bet trope.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
So yeah. That's the right movie, right? It's She's All That.
Yes. Okay. She's All That. And 10 Things I Hate About You was one of my things too.
So I would just rewrite those in story form and think that I was this brilliant mind that just came up with all these stories. So I've been writing forever.
You are a
So
brilliant mind.
no,
You are a
it
brilliant
started
mind.
changing to original ideas instead of just taking from 90s movies. But
Hey, that works.
yeah,
Though, I mean, are there really original ideas out there? I mean, your
it's
stories
hard.
are very original, but I feel like it is. How do you do that? Sorry, this is a random question, not related to childhood or anything, but how do you come up with original ideas?
Well, like you said,
I,
tropes are tropes. Like
yeah.
I think what's key for me is trying to take tropes I love and then
Mhm.
making them just different enough that they
Yeah.
feel unique and it's like a new spin on something. So that's what I try to do, is like a new spin on something that's very
Mhm.
beloved. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
again, like you said, it's really hard to find an original story. So, but I like to try to make it feel like
Mhm.
it's new, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was gonna say reading the Everseas series. I'm having a hard time talking today for some reason, but anyway, it is so creative. I feel
Oh,
like,
thanks.
yeah, it feels very original to me, and it does make sense of like some of those beloved, like the beloved tropes can help. At least for me, like as a reader, I feel like it's something I can recognize, but it's also new. The way that you write
Yes.
it. So anyway.
Well, that's the goal.
Yeah, good.
So,
Well, you're achieving it. You're killing
thanks.
it. Um, okay, so it sounds like from childhood, you've always loved writing
Mhm.
and daydreaming, and then you would write it down. And then in
Yes.
middle school, you recreated 90s movies. I love it. I'm here for
Yeah.
that. So I guess, like, really, it's something that just is like natural within you. Because I was going to ask you, like, what is it that compels you to write and share your stories? But maybe it's part of who you are, your creativity. I don't know.
Yeah, I've thought about it a lot, and I think it's everyone asks me that. They're like, "Oh, I couldn't do that," and I said, "Well, I think it's just what people like their passions, right? Like, everyone
Yeah.
has the same as
Yeah.
people read to escape. I
Mhm.
write to escape, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Like that's my
Totally.
escapism is like, and it's how I've started dealing with real world problems, if that makes sense. Like I like to
Mhm.
give characters issues and then I
Mhm.
like to work it through with them. It helps me. I don't know if it helps like my anxiety or whatever, but I like
Yeah.
to have their crazy, gritty, wild world fall apart and then like
Mhm.
put it back together.
Yes,
So
and I love those books,
yeah.
which I think is interesting because we were talking about earlier that I'm a therapist and your
Mhm.
brother and sister-in-law are therapists,
Yes.
and I feel like this is kind of on brand. Like, I wonder if within your family of like being able to emotionally process is important to you guys. I don't know, but
Oh
it can
yeah.
be so cathartic probably
Yes.
writing out these stories and to be able to process some real world issues through your characters. I've heard other authors say that too. I think that's so
Yeah.
cool.
I think I like it. And that's why I love to read though too, is because you go
Yeah.
into another point of view of someone that maybe you didn't think of and you couldn't experience before. Like that's why I love the diversity
Mhm.
of reads and stuff like that because it puts me somewhere else and I get to understand other people. So
Yeah.
hopefully, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think that's so
I like to
cool.
do it.
And I know, LJ, this is going to be a big question. So, like, if, because you've written so many books, but I was going to ask if you could share for the listeners a synopsis about your series without, I mean, obviously, if you don't want to give spoilers, that's fine too, because
Oh,
that
I
might
think
be
I can
hard
do
to
it
do.
without spoiling
Okay.
stuff. I guess what I'm known for, I've written a lot of older books. I call it old LJ. A lot of them are unpublished now, just because I kind of found my spice level and like my dark level and stuff like that. So I've taken some, but the series that I am
That's
most
cool.
known for would be the Broken Kingdoms and the Everseas. So the Broken Kingdoms is, I kind of tag it as fairy tales meet Vikings. So there's little hints, very loosely based. It's not like it's not going to follow. So it's divided into kingdoms. It's a book of 9. It's a series of 9 and everyone gets really overwhelmed by that. But let me explain.
No, it's
um,
awesome. I love series with
yeah,
lots of books. I love that because I love
yeah,
to get invested in the worlds. Anyway, sorry,
yeah. Some
continue.
people are like, "Whoa, that's a lot," which I get. It's a big commitment, but it is broken into different couples. So,
Mhm.
books 1 through 3, it's more Beauty and the Beast meets Vikings, and that's one couple. And then the next one's like Cinderella meets Vikings with like masquerades and things like that. And then
Mhm.
books 7 through 8 is Swan Princess meets Vikings. And then the last one that brings them all together is Phantom of the Opera meets Vikings.
Mhm.
So I've kind of like, I know that's not a fairy tale, but We're going to say it is. With the Broken Kingdoms, they're all very intertwined together. So you do have to read that series in order by the time you get to 9, or else you're going to be really lost. But then the Everseas is the second generation to that. Now you can, I wrote it in a way, I hope, it seems to be working, that you can start with the Everseas if you want. It's much shorter. It's a duology for the first couple, which is a daughter of the couple in books 1 through 3 of the Broken Kingdoms. And then the next one is like a standalone type thing. Like they're still connected though too. Like they're friends. So it's the children of the Broken Kingdoms characters are now building the Everseas. So it's one huge world that keeps growing.
I love that.
So I love it. It's been fun.
Yeah, that's so fun. So as an author, how do you do that with like, so I guess like you go into writing a book. And we'll get to your process a little bit, but with like, as the world continues to build, do you just add to it, or in your mind, you already have it? Like the rules kind of, okay. I was curious about this. Like, how does this build?
So with the Everseas in particular, so these characters from the Everseas actually show up in the Broken Kingdoms. They start in about book 6. You'll see the Ever King as a little boy show up. And I remember stopping there. And I wanted to say, is this just going to be a grown character that just shows up and I give him a spin-off series, or how am I going to do it? And it ended up somehow he was just a little boy. And so I was like, okay, we're second genning it. And so that grew. I wasn't expecting that, but that's what happened.
Wow. Okay.
So
cool.
And with me, I always introduce new. So in the Mist Thief, I introduced new characters like elves. We brought elves in instead of the Fae. And so I'm like expanding that way. And then I have plans for Stolen Crown to bring up other stuff that might have happened like in the Broken Kingdoms world, but it's now affecting the Everseas world.
Oh my gosh,
but, like,
I got
again,
goosebumps.
I try to keep them very independent. So you can still start there and like understand what's going on. You don't need to read the Broken Kingdoms to understand, hopefully. But I do think some things that happen in that series are now building out the world of the Everseas for me. And I didn't expect that, I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. No,
So
I think that's so cool. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like you're open to growth here.
Yeah.
Then.
I always try to, if the characters are discovering something, I'm like discovering it along with them. And then I'll think about it and kind of either expand on it or just say, oh no, that's not what happened. So.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. So then do you tend to be more of a pantser or a plotter or combo, or how would you describe your process? Okay.
I'm a combo. I'm very old school. Like I got it right here. I write out my plots and my ideas. And then like I'm so like old school, I guess. I just like handwrite it. But then it changes every single time. I've never had a book go according to plan. But writing it out, like my ideas, gives me a starting point, I guess. And then I feel like I have a good vibe with characters and they tend to take over, which is what I want. And so I like that. And then it ends up
that's so cool. That's so cool. I interviewed a new author, Haley Phelan. She's local. So I'm in the Kansas City area. She's so sweet, amazing. And we actually met for coffee one morning. So Haley, if you're listening to this, shout out to you. But anyway, she handwrites it too to start. And she said for her, it does shift and change. And I think that's, I think it's so cool how authors have different processes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really cool. I was going to say in the Everseas, I love Livy.
Yeah.
Lydia. She's so cool. She's one of my favorites. So when you said that you have like a good handle on your characters, like, is that kind of what you mean? Like where you really understand where you want them to go, like your goals and your intentions for them?
Yeah, I always write out character arcs before I start, like their personalities and things like that. And I try to, that's more what I plot out. Like, what would someone who has these things about them do? And it's hard because I don't have all the things that people have, right? So Livia, for example, I do have anxiety. So I understood anxiety. She has a lot of anxiety. But I had to be like, she grew up with a loving household. So why does she have it? And so I made it about the war that took place in the Broken Kingdoms. Like that would impact a child, right? And so
100%.
she's kind of keeps that to herself, but she has a lot of anxiety about what happened in her childhood, and that made her character in the Everseas. And same with Eric. He has a ton of trauma, and I tried to delve into like, if someone constantly was telling me that I wasn't good enough or that I was weak and stuff, like, and I was just hateful all the time, what would I be like as an adult? And so I try to do that.
100%.
Yeah. And yeah, so I guess that's what's happening. I try to break down their personalities. So
that's so cool. So you write that out and you try to understand that first.
Yeah, I try to understand them first. And then I can write the book a lot easier, because I feel like if you understand your characters, you kind of know what they would do and how they would react.
Yeah.
I'm not perfect at it, of course. It's just yeah. But I do try that. And honestly, what helps me is I write a lot of bonus scenes with them, so I get to know them through like my own just little scenes that I write. I usually share it. I always say I give bonus scenes out like candy, because I
love it.
Yeah, and that's why I write them, is because it like helps me get to know them a little bit better. And so then I can write their big books, if that's.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. Do you ever like start writing after you have your list of characters, your cast of characters? Do you ever start writing and then a character kind of comes out of left field and you're like, I got to add this person?
All the time. All the time. So Misty, Scotty, the female main character in her, I don't know where she came from. She popped up in the Everqueen. She was not even planned. I don't know what. It was supposed to be Alexi, who is Livia's cousin's story. That was book 3. And then Jonas was like, nope, it's mine. I'm taking it. And so, I don't know. She just popped out of nowhere. So
yes, that's cool. And I was going to say I have not, okay. So to be honest, I have not read the Broken Kingdoms series. Yeah. So I recently got into Romantasy about like over a year ago, and there's so many books. And one of my book friends was like, oh my gosh, you need to read LJ Andrews. and then you came out with the Everseas series, and I'm like, I'm going to start there. So your intention that like you can start with the Everseas versus the Broken Kingdoms. Yeah. You did it. So anyway,
honestly, a lot of people like to do it that way, because the Broken Kingdoms has a lot of sad things that happen, and so the Everseas kind of gives up who makes it out, I guess, and so that like it helped my stress levels. So
cool. Yeah.
So just be aware of that.
So there you go.
Yeah.
No, and I think for like knowing my like who I am, that would be nice to know that now that like when I go back to your Broken Kingdoms, I'm like, okay,
yeah,
I'm prepared.
Yeah, they're gonna be just fine.
Hey everyone, time for another ad. Aurora Crate Book Box is one of my absolute favorite Romantasy book boxes, and the best part is that it does not require a subscription to snag their gorgeous special edition books. Guys, I am so honored to be able to share my code, which is Kate5, that you can use at checkout for a discount. The September book is Nisha J. Tooley's Omnibus, and I'm so excited for that to be released. You guys should go check it out at Aurora Crate Book Box and see if you guys can snag it before September 29th. Thanks, guys.
Your characters are very rich, and like it makes sense that like they're very thought out and it's intentional. And the cast of characters, I connected with all of them. I loved them in the Everseas. So do you have a particular character that you connect with? I mean, you've written so many books. That's probably a very hard question to answer.
I kind of see myself in a lot of them. Libby is one for sure, but I don't know. I make one of my favorite tropes is the found family. So I really make characters that I hope that I would want as friends, you know? And so I loved Celine Tidecaller, who's in, and I don't know if she's me, but I love like her loyalty to, and so I love her so much. And Sewell, I don't know. It's so hard. I think bits and pieces of me are in all of them. And so I don't know. I resonate with everyone, even the villains. Yeah. Like, I get like why they do things sometimes, you know? So,
well, and that helps. Yeah. I mean, I think that piece of when you write out all your characters and like recognize, okay, why would they be the way that they are? I mean, it does seem like you really are being intentional with trauma too.
Yes, I
So,
try to.
yeah.
Because that's the whole
Yeah.
point. One of my favorite compliments that I will get from readers is that it
Mm-hmm.
healed them a little bit, is that reading. And that's not, I'm not saying that I'm like a healer or
No.
anything. It just, you know what I mean? Like the escapism and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And if it resonates with someone, that's what you want.
Mm-hmm.
I want it to
Yes.
impact someone and them to connect somehow.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. And again, I know I say this every time, but I am a therapist, right? And like there is that piece of like narrative therapy is a
Hmm.
real thing. And I think we can find so much healing in stories because we can resonate with those stories. And then, I'm sure as a writer, you can create the ending or whatever where it
Yeah,
can feel so
you help them work
cathartic and
through it.
healing.
And I
Yeah.
would say that's, I did that a lot with Scotty in The Mist
Okay.
Thief. Because she
Very
has a
cool.
lot of she doesn't feel like she's ever good enough for people. And
Mm-hmm.
so, like, I think we all can relate to that, especially like in our adult
Mm-hmm.
lives. I don't know. Maybe it's just
Yes.
like my time where you
No,
feel like you're always
100%.
sometimes falling short. And so I kind of
Yes.
resonated with
Oh,
that aspect of her character. And I liked how
hmm
she worked it out. So, like, that helped me personally. I was like,
yeah.
okay, she did it. You can do it. Like, you came from your
Yes.
brain. Like, let's do this.
Yes.
So,
And that you're not alone. Like these
yeah.
other characters are like these are like human experiences.
Yeah.
I don't know, even though it's a fantasy world, like
Well, I think that's what makes fantasy so awesome is that you can go to like a
yeah,
new world, but it still feels very real to you.
absolutely. I think that's another reason why I love it as well.
Yeah.
So, I guess and you've kind of been answering some of this yourself like or touching on it of the process of writing about trauma and being able to identify with these clients and then use empathy probably in a lot of respects to like understand like okay how they became or whatever like how they got from point A to point I don't know C or whatever. So how is the process of writing about trauma for these characters and watching them grow and helping them grow through it?
Well, like I said, I'm a big reader too. So even though I
Yeah.
haven't gone through some of these things
Mm-hmm.
that my characters go through,
Uh-huh.
I've read about it a lot, and hopefully just like you said, you used your compassion as a human being to
Mm-hmm.
maybe think how it would go for someone. I've talked to people. I mean, I do research too, obviously. I don't just guess
yeah.
how it would be. I've talked to real victims of trauma
Oh,
sometimes
wow.
and asked like, how
Yeah.
would you want such a thing handled and things like that. I try to be sensitive
Mm-hmm.
to real life issue
Mm-hmm.
and that's the best when someone who has been through something that a character has gone through and they say that it was
Yeah, that's spot on. Oh,
exactly.
that's
They
so
they felt like it was
yeah.
authentic and real, and that's what I want. I don't want it to be cheap or something like that, where you just throw it in to have
100%.
like some grit to your book. So hopefully it
Yes.
feels natural.
And authentic. And
Yeah.
do you use sensitivity readers? I think some authors do
Sometimes I
that.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am I have a traditionally published book that's coming out next year. And we're going to do some sensitivity readers for that because he doesn't speak verbally. And I've
Okay.
talked to audiologists and speech therapists and things like that. But yeah, I don't know what that's like, not to have
Yeah.
a verbal voice. And so I think we're going to do that. But I do
Cool.
have beta readers that have gone through things sometimes. And so I ask them to focus on the traumatic points and
Mm-hmm.
let me know how it
Mm-hmm.
goes.
For sure.
And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's important. If you have something super, super sensitive, I would always
Yeah.
double check. And I have to say, my ARC readers are amazing because they've caught things that I didn't know. Just like in my society and stuff, I wasn't aware that it was either associated with something that's harsh or, something like that. So I
Oh
love my
my
ARC readers.
gosh.
They're not afraid to be like,
Cool.
hey, you might want to
Yeah.
check
Shout
that.
out to ARC
Google,
readers. That's
Google that.
amazing.
So,
Yeah.
and so
Oh,
that's
cool.
been super helpful.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think circling back to you said you have a traditionally like published book coming out. I think, have you been posting about that on Instagram? I feel
Yeah.
like I've been seeing this.
Yeah, it's called
Yes.
Broken Souls and Bones. So it's coming out with
Yes.
Ace, and that's a branch of Penguin Random House. So
Cool.
I'm really excited for it. Thank
Congratulations.
you. I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
It'll be a lot of fun.
That's
He's
so
dark and broody,
exciting.
and I love him. So,
Yeah. Awesome. How did that idea come to you? This is completely not related, like it's
this is a
unrelated
different
to
world. Yep, it is
okay.
Viking Norse mythology. That's kind of my brand. So it is Norse
Yeah.
mythology. I
Cool.
mean, my own spin. Like I take Norse mythology, but I change words and stuff like that. Like they don't go
Mhm.
to Valhalla and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I was talking to my agent. Someone had mentioned something about one of my series, and she was like, are you interested in doing traditional? I was like, sure, let's give it a try. And so I had this idea and I came up with it, and she started pitching it, and it was awesome.
Cool.
So we've been developing
That's
it a lot.
awesome.
It's changed from the original thought.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, but it's my first nonverbal character. So, well, not, I did side characters that use sign language, but this is my first main character, I guess, that doesn't speak.
Wow.
So I'm
Yeah.
excited. I hope people like it.
Yeah. I'm really excited to check it out. Yeah. No, I'm really excited. And I can imagine that really would have taken some research, you know.
I have thankfully I have a brother-in-law who's an audiologist, so I talked to them because I know, I just got people at my fingertips.
You got people.
And so he really helped me to understand like the voice and stuff, and then speech therapists, I went and talked to them about, I hope it's good. I think it is. It's enjoyable to me.
Of course it is. Yes. Yeah. Do you, as you're writing, I mean, earlier you were saying it's just as much of an escape for you as a writer as it is for the reader, right? So like, as you're writing, do you ever, I don't know, chuckle to yourself and be like, oh my gosh, this is so good. I don't know. Or like fall in love with your own. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
do you gush about your own words?
With my own characters, 100%.
Yes.
If I didn't like my characters, that'd be boring.
I know that would be, yeah, I guess that would be.
Yeah. So I definitely, no, I'm very hard on myself. So my beta readers and stuff, every time I'm just like, it's the worst. It's just get ready. It's the worst. And then right before it goes out, usually I'll reread it and I'm like, it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah. So I'm getting harder on myself, honestly. I would think that releasing books would be easier. It's actually getting harder.
Yeah.
I'm getting more critical of myself. And so like the Mist Thief, I was so hard on myself with the Mist Thief. I was like, no, this is the end of the Everseas. No one's gonna like it. And it's some people's favorite. Like they're just like, I love it. And so it's authors, just chill. We just gotta be nice to ourselves.
100%. That's so interesting that you say that. Just an insert real fast. I know I talked with Pin Cole and she said, I forget which book it was. I think maybe it was nicest. She's so sweet. The third book in her series that she was like, oh my gosh, I hate this. Yeah. And like it's like one of everyone's favorites. So what is that about? I feel like this is like a thing that authors go through of like either it's imposter syndrome or just being really hard on yourself, like perfectionistic. Yeah. What do you think it is? For me, maybe for you personally?
I can only speak for myself, but I've been so grateful for the response to these two series, particularly that like I get in my head and I'm like, I'm going to mess it up. And so I did that a lot with the Broken Kingdoms, especially whenever we changed to new couple focus. I'd be like, this is the end. This is going to be the worst. And it never was. And so it's a lot of, for me, I have to constantly do the whole manifest, like remind myself, like what's real and what's not and stuff like that, you know? Yeah. Like where's the proof that you're going to destroy everything? So I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the pressure. If you have, I guess, a lot of readers that you're just like, you really don't want to disappoint people.
That's what I was wondering. If it felt I don't know pressure if that's each book.
Yeah, maybe that's because I feel it a lot with even my traditional book coming out. I'm just like, oh, this is my first one. I don't want to mess it up. So I just,
even though I
get out of it eventually, because every release, readers are amazing, and they just tell you how much they loved it, and it's just, I am very, very keen to avoid negativity during my releases. I do not. That's like all I ask of my ARC readers. Like, if you don't like it, don't tell me. So, tell other people, but don't tell me.
Yes. Don't tag. Yes.
Yep. Don't tag me. Just leave me alone.
I don't want to see it. Not good for my mental health.
So they help when readers reach out. I love when readers reach out. And
that's so good. So yeah. And I mean, it's so interesting because you've written so many books, you know, and it sounds like with each book that you write, you you don't want to let anyone down, but you don't want to let yourself down. You don't want to let your characters down.
Yeah.
And so maybe some of that
And you
pressure
want to keep
builds. And
writing in it. Like I want to
yeah.
keep writing these worlds, so I want to keep expanding it and do it authentically and stuff like that. Like a lot of
Yeah.
people originally, the Broken Kingdoms was supposed to be 12 books,
Oh, wow.
3 for each kingdom. But
Okay.
as I was writing it, I was like, it's going to be dragging on, and so I ended it. And a lot of people are like, oh, I wish we would have gotten more with the last couple because we loved them, and they only got one book. But at the same time, I do feel like personally, I feel like it would have just been
Been too
dragging.
much.
And so, yeah, I try to be authentic with my worlds. But yeah, I want to keep it growing. So I always try to find where can we expand, but make it feel like it's flowing, not just forcing something. So
Yeah. Well, and you're the expert because this is your series, right?
yeah,
These are your worlds. And it's also that probably that piece of like trusting yourself,
yeah,
hopefully, as like the author of like, this is where it ends, maybe, or,
yep.
continues.
That is one thing I've gotten over the years. I think I've gotten really good at following the gut instinct, I guess. It's kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but it's always right before I'm supposed to send them out to arcs, I change something like big. It just comes. I'm like, this is how it's supposed to go. There it is. There's the golden egg. Like that's what I've found. So it's funny,
Really?
yeah, like I just will, with the Mist Thief, I wrote 3 scenes right before it was supposed to go to the editor. And I
Oh
was just
my
like,
gosh.
no, it was in editing. And something an
Oh,
editor
wow.
said made me be like, nah, I got to go this way. And
Oh my
so, yeah, I
gosh.
added like 3 scenes to the Mist Thief, and then it went to arcs like 2 weeks later. And so it was just like, that wasn't even part of the
Wow.
story. And I just did the
Oh my
same thing with
gosh.
Broken Souls and Bones. Is
Wow.
it was on the last developmental, and the editor just said one sentence. She asked a question, and I'm like, I sent back the edits after I was
You're
done.
like,
I'm
I
like,
got
you
you,
sent
boo.
me down a rabbit hole, and I think it's
Uh-huh.
good, but and it just,
Wow.
I don't
I
know.
have
And so that's what I mean. I
goosebumps.
follow the gut a lot, and if something's
Uh-huh.
not working, um, I've gotten really, I think, good at not being afraid to change it, even though that was my original idea. Even if I've teased it, that's why I always say on my teasers like this can change, and it probably will. But not be afraid to like if it's going to be extra work, and sometimes it is. It adds like 50,000 words, or it adds an extra 2 weeks to your work. I don't know. I trust my gut a lot, and it's worked out so far.
Yeah. It
So,
hasn't steered you wrong.
no, I
I
haven't
think
steered me
that's so
wrong yet.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like trusting that inner knowing,
Yeah.
and so cool that you're open to that. I think
I don't
especially
like it
being, yeah. Well, I
because
was
it
going to
makes
ask
me have to
you,
do more work.
okay, I was going to ask you if it feels like exhilarating or if there's like I don't know, if
Now I'm
there's,
like, I almost get into arguments in my head with them. I'm just like, you seriously? Like, why are we doing this? Because
why are we doing
I
this?
do my meditation and like my walking and my
Mhm.
plotting in the mornings, and I'll have my headphones in and stuff like that. And it's always with the mornings walks, and it just all of a sudden a
Uh,
scene comes to my mind, and I'm like, that's going to change
wow.
everything. Why are
Oh
you
my
doing this to me?
gosh.
But then it usually works out better. So
Wow, that's incredible. And that has happened with nearly every one of your books.
basically all the books. I mean, I've even said with Broken Kingdom. So there's a couple, Ari, and that's Princess Mira's parents.
Okay.
He was not
Oh, yeah.
supposed to be a main character. Like
Okay.
he wasn't, and he got his own books. And so I've said that before. It was like in book 2, he was just supposed to be a supporting friend who was just there, who
Uh-huh.
was helping them out. And no, then
Uh-huh.
he's just like, I'm going to be one of the main guys here. So get to it, write my
MMC
book.
energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. So cool.
it changes all the time.
Yeah. So what does your day look like? You said that you start like with a morning
Yes, I wake up
walk,
early.
and
I am such an early bird.
what's
I wake
early?
up, yeah, like I love it. We always joke it's because I don't people well, and so I'm like I like to go out when no one's there. So yeah, I go out
Yeah.
at like 5:30 in the
Oh,
morning, and just it used to be earlier, but now my kids are older, so we stay up later.
uh-huh.
And I just go walk when the sun's rising and stuff like that, and it's just nice and it's quiet. And I do that. I come home and I do all these. I'm a big meditator, so I do
That's so cool.
meditations, listen to my podcast, and then we get to school,
Hmm.
get the kids
And
off to school. I'm really blessed to be able to do this full time now. So
okay.
I usually start with meetings in the mornings or things like this. I usually Try
Hey.
to keep them in the morning or the afternoon. It's like not in the middle. I don't do anything in the middle
Yeah.
except write and stuff, answer
Yeah.
emails and all that stuff. And then I try to write a certain amount of words every day. I've been terrible this summer, I will be honest. This summer has just been chill, but I try to do that. And it doesn't always work because life happens a lot, but it's hard to work at home sometimes. I don't know. I don't know if you work at home, like do your clients virtually and stuff like that, but it can
I
be
did
tough.
during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and no, I much prefer being in person.
Yeah.
I
It's,
will occasionally, but yeah, I'm similar to you. Sometimes it's just, I got to get out.
yeah, you have to
Yeah.
be super disciplined, I think, with your day. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of it. And then if I have to
Yeah.
work later, usually after dinner, I will go up and do things,
That's
but I
so
try to be
cool.
done. I try. I don't do it all the time, but to be done by the time my kids are home from school.
Mm-hmm.
So my youngest one, my older kids, they come home
Mm-hmm.
earlier, so they have to deal with me a little bit working. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of my day.
That's awesome. So how long have you been able to do this full time
About 3 years
writing?
now.
Oh, very
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So I did
That's
occupational
awesome.
therapy before that. I have a degree in that, so very different. So healthcare to writing, but
Yes.
yeah.
No, that's amazing. Oh my gosh. I'm referencing another author I interviewed, Kara Douglas. She's a new like debut author. She
Oh,
wrote
cool.
Lunaria. So Kara, shout out to you. Anyway, she's an OT full time.
Oh,
And then
cool.
she wrote her first book in the evenings while
Hmm.
planning to get married. She's a little bit younger and she just like told her fiance or I think maybe they were married at that time. Anyway, she was like, yeah, so I wrote a book. And he's like, wait, what?
I just
But I
did
think
this.
that's interesting.
Hmm.
Being an OT, I think you still have a little bit maybe more knowledge too of like the psychology of things, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So we did that. I mean, we did our psych stuff and things, and
Yeah.
I just have anxiety and stuff like that myself. But yeah, so Eric's bad. He has
Yeah.
a leg that's weak, and so yeah, I definitely pull from that. Um,
Cool.
it's helpful. It really is. That's where a
Yeah.
lot of the stories came from. Those I worked in the geriatric community, and so I had a lot of patients at the time that were World War II, and so that's
Mm.
just the stories they could tell. They were awesome.
Mm-hmm.
They were so awesome.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's very cool. I worked on a psych unit,
wow,
geriatric unit, and it there for a couple of years, and it definitely it's amazing working with that population, and at the same time, oh my gosh, it's so hard. It takes
yeah. No,
like
I
being an
had
empath,
like
it's tough.
it is. I did a lockdown in the dementia unit and stuff like that, and
I did
it's
too.
they're the cutest. Sometimes they
I
don't like
know.
you, but they're the
No.
cutest. Like they just
Uh,
love people. So I don't know. It's
uh-huh.
tough though when you get someone who's
It's
agitated
hard.
and things like that. It can be really hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but that's right.
Wow.
Sewell, he has aphasia and stuff like that. So I
Okay.
pulled out my old
Yeah.
books and I was like going
So
through aphasia and
cool.
stuff like that. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So you did OT for how many
Like eight
years?
years. Yeah.
Okay.
About 8 years.
Yeah.
So we worked and I did the same thing, would write in the evenings. And
Wow.
yeah, I have a coworker. An old coworker. He bought one of my very first books. He's like, this is going to be famous
Oh.
someday. And that was old LJ. But so yeah,
So
they
sweet.
were really supportive. They were cute.
Oh,
So,
that's so cool. So how many books have you written in total? Can you
oh,
even
geez, I've lost
like,
count.
oh my
Well, because
gosh.
I write under my real name too, sweet romance, contemporary romances. So
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. I didn't even say that in the
Yeah.
intro of our podcast.
Well, I don't tell people.
Why not?
Well, I do. I mean, they do okay too.
Okay.
It's just so different. I haven't written a lot of them
Wow.
because LJ's kind of been
Yeah.
taking the precedent. And so, yeah, I write contemporary romances. So I've lost count. I mean, it's in the 40s, I think, if you count my old stuff too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. But that's what's great is like you just get better,
That's so
it's
cool.
practice. And so
Yes.
I did unpublish a lot of the older LJ that was before the pandemic is kind of
Mm-hmm.
where I say like 2019, 2020 is where I kind of took a
Uh-huh.
break and then did the Broken
Okay.
Kingdoms and stuff. Um,
Cool.
but yeah, they were just didn't match anymore. Like they were very
Mm-hmm.
YA and I write spicier stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So people were going to kind of going
Mm-hmm.
to go back and they were just like, this feels different.
This
So
is different. You're like,
yeah.
yeah, it is different.
Yeah.
I've grown. Yeah. I was going to ask you how it's been navigating, like working on, the times that you have when you were working full time, right? And writing and like how that has been. And I'm sure it's like a huge shift and feels like a dream come true now that you're able just to write. But I
Well,
don't know.
I felt like I had a better schedule when I had a day job, honestly, because
Really?
I have 4 kids too. So it's
Wow.
like, we had to just navigate that. And
Mm-hmm.
now it's all up to me to make my schedule. And so sometimes I'm not as disciplined as I used to be. I
Uh-huh.
had to have to try to, but it's so nice. I love it. I love being available. I love um
Mm-hmm.
just being home and like being able to do
Mm-hmm.
my schedule how I want it. I love working for myself. My gosh. That I don't know if I could go back at this point.
Yeah, I mean, yep.
Yeah, I really love working for
Mm-hmm.
myself. It's a lot of fun. It is
Mm-hmm.
stressful because, if I
Mm-hmm.
don't write books, then I don't get my money and I don't get my paycheck.
Right.
So,
100%.
but it's nice.
So
I
there's a
really love
little
it.
stress there. Yeah. How old are
Yeah.
your kids?
My oldest is going to be 16 this
Oh,
year. And then I have
okay.
a 13-year-old, an 11-year-old, and then a 7-year-old. So,
Oh my gosh, what the
yeah,
spread? Yeah, we have a 13-year-old too. It's a
it's
it's an interesting
fun.
age.
It is fun. I'm
Her
nervous
I
about the
don't
driving. That's going to be
Yeah.
new. So,
Yeah. I don't know. At least our 13-year-old, she's always walking around saying, "What the skibbity?"
oh,
And I
yeah.
mean, like I'm
And
like,
bruh,
"What are you even
what is
saying?"
tap? There's like
Cap. I know. Oh my
Captain
gosh, it
or
sounds so old. Yeah.
yes, Skibbity Riz or
Skibbity
something.
Riz, Alpha, and now our
Oh,
three year
she heard
old.
me. She's like, you don't know what you're saying.
Yeah, that is hysterical. Yeah, so our 3 year old is now saying what the skib, what the skibbity, and I'm like, no,
I
I'm getting
know.
what the skibbity toilet. I'm like, ew,
What doesn't even
why?
make sense? Like, what
It
is it?
doesn't make any sense. Okay, so we're not alone.
No.
Last
Apparently, I
night
don't know
at
what
the
I'm
dinner,
saying.
no, I don't either. Last night at the dinner table, it was like, you're gonna need to like
Yeah,
speak English
translate
because
that
I have
for me.
yes, you need to translate that. That's so funny. Okay, so 4 kiddos.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and it sounds like when you had your job, you felt like you had a little bit better handle on your schedule.
I just think it's because I didn't. Well, writing wasn't full time either. It was just like it was
Right.
still hobby at that point.
Okay.
I always wanted to do it, and my husband was always super
Hmm.
supportive. Like was just like,
That's
let's do this.
cool.
You'll make it. And
Oh,
so
that's
yeah, we
so
put effort
cool.
into it. So my
Yeah.
weekends I would write more and stuff like that. But
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
now it's my full time job, so it's fun. It's like, oh, what do I get to dream up today? So
I love that. That's
yeah.
amazing. And so then how is like the role of publishing, I guess, cuz you've been indie for a very long time,
Hmm.
right? Like how has that been? I mean, I've talking with it's a lot, right?
A
Like
lot. It's
especially
so
while
amazing,
working.
though. It's so
Is it?
amazing that we can do
Yeah.
it now and
Yeah.
that you don't need to wait for someone to say that your
Yes.
book can be read by people. It's so
Yeah.
amazing. I am so pro indie, but I also am really excited to try the traditional side. It's such a new
Yeah.
world. Oh my gosh, it's such a new
Mhm.
world. And
Mhm.
so, but it's been so fun to merge both. And
Yeah.
I'll be honest, when I first started as indie, I first published in 2016. That was my first book. And there was like this stigma that like traditional doesn't care about indies and but in my
Mhm.
experience, they've been very supportive of my indie like publishing and super
Very cool.
welcoming of it. And I don't know if every publisher can say that, but mine has.
Okay.
So it's been really
Yeah.
great. But I
That's
love
really
it. I
cool.
love the freedom to be like, I'm gonna do this and no one's gonna tell me no. And
Yeah.
if people don't like it, they don't like it. And if they do, great.
Yes.
So I
Great.
love indie publishing. It is a
Mhm.
lot of work though. Oh my goodness.
And
And
probably costs a lot of
we're kind
money.
of dependent on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and things like that. However you publish, whether you do wide or KU,
Mhm.
um, it can be a
Mm.
lot. You have to depend on that, and there's issues. I I struggle. I always joke with my readers that I have a paperback curse because my paperbacks always have an issue. You think that they wouldn't by now, but something always messes up in them. So that's stressful for me. I don't know what it is, but my formats or like the printing doesn't go right. It's just fun. But
Yeah.
I love the freedom of being like, I have this idea.
Mm-hmm.
and I need to get it out, and I'm going to publish it. And no one's going to
Yeah.
say that's not going to sell, that's not going to do well. And so I
Uh-huh.
love it. I love
Yeah,
like
that's cool.
indie stuff, but it is a lot of work, and
Yeah.
it's hard to make money at first. It takes a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
like get it
Yeah.
in the market right. So
Mm-hmm.
indie authors are the real heroes. So
I think
authors,
so
I should say
too.
authors are.
No,
It's a lot of work.
yeah. Yeah. I think, would you have any recommendations for any advice for any new indie
Oh my gosh.
debut?
I mean,
I
get
don't
me
know.
started and I will give you advice. Um,
I don't even know. That's a big question,
so
but if not, that's okay.
when I get asked where to start, I know they probably hear it a lot. I would definitely research markets. Um,
Mm.
that's what I did with the Broken Kingdoms, because I lost money for a solid almost 4 years at being an indie. Yeah. Yeah. That's why I took a break, is because I was like, I need to figure this out, or I need to get a new job or whatever,
Oh, that would suck. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was rough. And so I studied the market of what I wanted to write. I was really afraid to do spicier because I thought people would judge me. And so that's why my first books
Oh
are
my God, your
very,
spice is so good. I was going to ask you how it feels
so
writing those steamy scenes. They're so
I've gotten
good.
very used to it now. But
Okay.
that's why I just did an update on the first four of the Broken Kingdoms. And it's not because I'm
Mm-hmm.
selling out or anything. Like some people are like, you can't feed the spice, but they weren't that spicy. And the Everseas has gotten spicier. And so I just wanted to fit like my brand now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just added a touch more detail to those
Mm-hmm.
books. But so I studied the market of what I wanted to write, and I knew I was a spicy reader, and I knew I wanted to be a little bit more gritty, a little darker, um, with the romantasy spice and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. And so it took me a while, but I read all the books. So I went to like my genres. There's lots of different categories underneath like romantic fantasy and stuff like that. And I just read the bestsellers that were in that. And I'm like, why do people like these books? What's a common theme that's going
Mm-hmm.
on in these books? So for romantasy, I bet we can all can guess. Morley Gray,
Mm-hmm.
like Toucher and Die, stuff like that. And so
Mm-hmm.
I found that that was a
Mm-hmm.
very common thread. But I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to make it my own spin of things. So that's why I started like,
Mm-hmm.
I love Norse mythology. We are Scandinavian. So I was just like, I
Okay.
want to kind of
Yeah.
use legends from my grandparents came over from Sweden. So it was just
Oh,
like, I wanted to kind of
cool.
bring that in. And then
Oh,
my husband's
neat.
family came from Denmark. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah, I just like wanted to do some mythology in that, and I
Yeah.
found it
That's
fascinating.
so cool.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to do Vikings, but let's make
Mm-hmm.
them Fae, and let's add some familiar fairy tales. And so I made a
Yeah.
curse and Beauty and the Beast, and made sure he was possessive, and she was like
Yeah.
kind of figuring things out, and yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so that's what I would suggest to authors. That's
It
a long
worked for you.
explanation.
Yeah.
Sorry. Is
Yeah.
study your
Yeah.
markets, read, 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 find common
Mm-hmm.
threads, what covers are selling, and then start there. But make it like your
Wow.
own. You want
Well,
to,
make it your own.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like we said
Do
earlier,
you?
you want the
Uh-huh.
tropes to be there, but make it your own.
Yes. But make it your own. Make it your own spin. That is so
Yeah,
cool about your history too,
yeah,
with like Scandinavia and Nordic.
yeah.
Like that's so awesome.
I know.
That
I
makes
want to
sense
take
that
my
maybe you're
kids
drawn to
there
that.
next year. I want to
Yeah.
go and show them. So, like where we came from, I guess. So,
That's so cool.
I
Have you
hope
been
we
there?
can.
Have you been?
No, my mom has though. She went and
Okay.
found like her grandpa's old like root cellar and stuff. They live in like Göteborg, Sweden. I don't know if I said that right. I'm sorry if I didn't. And then yeah, so she went and met all of her cousins that are still there and stuff like that. And I want to go too.
Oh, that's so
So
cool. Oh my gosh. And I bet that would be so inspirational for your
I
books.
know. I said if we can go to a few museums, I would be thrilled.
Uh-huh.
I would
Yeah.
love.
Tax
Oh,
write-off.
I'd love it. I know. I would love it so much. But that's why I
Work
chose
trip.
Norse mythology, is because it's like our
Yeah.
heritage. So
Oh, that's so cool. I had no
yeah.
idea. Yeah. So it sounds like you were kind of alluding to some of this, that like in the beginning you didn't write a whole lot of steam,
Hmm.
not a lot, but like now you've gotten used to it. So it feels a little bit more
Yes.
comfortable for you.
Yeah. I think it was kind of like book 4, book 5 in the Broken Kingdoms, where I just was like, I don't care anymore. Like if
Yeah.
someone's going to be judgy
Yeah.
of me, like I don't care anymore. This is what I
Hmm.
want to write. and
Mm-hmm.
you can do it
So do
respectfully.
it.
I wouldn't definitely
Mm-hmm.
not say that mine. I'm not like I don't know what classifies smut, but
Yeah, I don't know either.
I don't
I don't
know.
know.
I don't know if
It's
mine's
spicy and it's
yeah, it's
steamy.
they're spicy, but I don't know. It's I only
Yeah.
have I would say like I'm 3 chili peppers in the Everseas, 2 to 3. So I'm not a
I
five
would agree.
chili pepper author, I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, and I just
You do
stopped
you, boo.
caring. I
Yeah.
just stopped caring about outside sources, and it
Yeah.
was freeing. I will say it
That's
was
so
honestly,
cool. That's so
yeah.
cool. Yeah. Do you have any like character book crushes? This is kind of a random question, but
Of
like
mine or other people's?
of your anybody that comes to mind.
Oh,
I know
well,
that's
my favorite, the one that kind of got me started before the Broken Kingdoms. I read this before the Broken Kingdoms, and I was just obsessed with him. I don't know. I love Cardan from The Cruel Prince. Have you read The Cruel
Oh, I have
Prince
not
series from
read
Holly
that
Black?
yet. I
It's
have not
YA,
read that yet.
not
Okay.
spicy. I love
Yeah.
him so much. I still do. Holly Black just did a Kickstarter with like this game with the cards, and she had like character art of these cards, and I just bought it because I was like,
Nice.
well, I need Cardan. I'm
That's
still obsessed with
amazing.
him. I love him so much.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. What about any of your own characters?
I love so many of them.
Yeah, you do.
I love Case Erickson, who is Jonas's dad.
Okay.
He is just I resonate with him. He's
Okay.
very moody and like I don't like a lot of crowds, but like I love my family. Like I'm obsessed with my family. And so like I love him so much. He was my first one actually, that I wrote. So a lot of
Oh,
people don't know that.
interesting.
I wrote book 4 in the Broken Kingdoms first. So yeah. And then I
You
was like,
heard it
no, I
here
don't think they're
first.
number 1. I don't think they're the first couple. So and then I wrote Fallon and Elise. So yeah.
Interesting. So
So I've known
cool.
Case the longest. That's probably why. So I love
You
him
really
so much.
connect.
Yeah, he's so broody and shadowy. I love him.
Nice. I can't wait to read about him.
He's our shadow daddy.
Yeah. Okay. I love a good shadow daddy.
Yeah. So and then in the Everseas, I don't know.
Yeah.
I love Eric and I love Jonas.
I do
But
too.
I have ideas for future and I love like Sander and stuff.
Okay.
So I love
Cool.
Tate too.
I love that you love all of your
I love them
characters.
all.
And I feel like that's
They're
what
so
should be.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
I mean,
so
not saying that
fun.
should be, but I think that's
Yeah.
great. Yeah. Are there any anything that you could share for future projects? If not, that's okay too. But anything that you can share?
So yeah, like I said, there's gonna be announcements for the Everseas, but
Yeah.
because I do have a traditionally published book coming out next year, I go on like a hiatus kind of where I'm not supposed
Okay.
to release a for sale book for about 6 months, starting in October. And
Okay.
so in the interim, I am going to be
Uh-huh.
releasing like some novellas that are free for people because I have to. I just
Nice.
can't not do it.
Yeah.
So what we are going to do, and I think the first one will come in October,
Okay.
and it's Broken Kingdoms characters specifically. So they're getting their own. It's like side characters, and a lot of people have wanted their romance. So I know you haven't read the Broken Kingdoms, but there's one I'm gonna do in October is some of the thieves that are part of like Jonas's family.
Okay.
Nicholas and
Cool.
Junie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So Nicholas and Junie are getting like their love story of how, I mean, people, if you're part of my group and stuff, I've given a bonus book type thing and it has like bonus material. So they kind of know how they met. But I'm going to do their love story. A lot of people have been asking for Stieg, who is in the Everseas, but he's also he's in the Broken Kingdoms.
Yes.
So
Okay.
he's been a bestie since like the beginning of the Broken Kingdoms, but he's a big part of Eric's life. So a lot of people are like, we want Stieg's story. So I think he's coming, and then Sol and Tor. Gosh, sorry, I keep shaking my Sol and Tor, which are Alexi's dads. So a lot of people are wanting their story too. So
cool.
I think I'm going to do those and they'll just be given over the next month.
You're amazing.
I'm really excited to like start.
Oh, that's so cool.
And then yeah, I'm trying to get box sets for the Broken Kingdom so people can start because that's been a request. So I'm working on that. And then some special like foil covers for the Broken Kingdom. So
I am a sucker for foil.
Yes.
Like I love foil.
Yeah.
So much.
So check out my groups and stuff for that. I'll post them on Instagram when they're available, but they'll just be free downloads for people because I can't technically like sell them and publish them. So
yeah, that's amazing.
But I also can't just not.
You can't just not. I love that you are so like thoughtful too about your readers, because I know your readers love that.
Oh,
you know, like being so giving.
Well, I mean, they're the reason that I can do this full time. Mm-hmm. So I try to give back as much as I can. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love them. And then I'm working on the book 2 in the Broken Souls and Bones too. Because they're like, they do it like a year before. So that deadline will be in April. So I have to write the second book now.
Yeah. Because traditionally published that route, it's a little bit slower, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot slower. I'm just learning like why. So I'm getting to see finally like the promotions and stuff and why it takes so long. So.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
So we got a lot of work that we're working on.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're almost done, but I wanted to ask if we could do some rapid fire questions, if you're down with that.
Yep.
Okay. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay. Favorite MMC?
Okay.
Your favorite?
Or mine?
Yours.
Mine.
I know. These might be a little hard, so don't feel pressure to say it really fast.
We'll say case, but I love you all. Oh, Ari's going to be so mad.
So. Favorite FMC of your books?
I love Scotty and Livia.
Okay.
So they're legal.
Yeah. Favorite side character?
Oh gosh. Salantor or Gunnar or
all of them.
Gavin.
Oh my gosh. I mean, you do have a lot of characters. I can imagine that this is really hard. I'm sorry. I'm not putting you. Yeah, these are not fair questions. Favorite scene that you've written?
I actually have one that I love.
Oh,
it might be a spoiler. I'll try not to spoil it. It's in the Everqueen, and it's Eric is facing Livia's dad, Valen, and he says something about her anxiety, and I don't know. He says he needs to help her breathe. I love that. That whole book was like based on that scene. Like I knew that was going to happen, that standoff. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, I love that scene so much.
I love it. And if you could bond with like a magical creature, what type of creature would it be? Like
maybe a wolf.
Oh, cool.
A raven.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What type of a power would you want to have if you could have any type of power?
I love the magic system of Jonas's family. They're the body magic. And so I would love to be an Alver because they can be super dangerous and gritty and they can basically control your mind sometimes. So
yeah, I mean, that's intense. Yes. Do you have like a favorite beverage that you like to drink while you're either reading or writing? Do you need to have beverages?
Yes, I do. I spike my water with like those Mio like caffeine squirts. Have you ever had them?
I don't know. No,
like
I'm just drinking my coffee.
Yeah, I just spike my water all the time with these little flavored energy drops.
Love it.
That's it.
Okay, and then where do you prefer to write? If you could write anywhere, where would you write?
In a cabin in the woods. Oh. If I could do that every day, I would.
You would do that. I love it.
Yeah.
Favorite way to read, whether it's an audiobook, ebook, or physical copy?
I'm getting into physical copies more just because I used to not be able to buy them because I couldn't afford them. And so now I can buy physical books a little bit more. But I love Kindles because I love the dictionary on it. If I don't know a word, I love being able to click on it and see what it means. And I learned that way. So I love my Kindle so much.
Yeah, I do too. There's also that option too that can translate if it's in another language.
Yes, which
is so cool.
I love it. I love having that at my fingertips.
Me too. Okay, and if you could be any type of like fae, witch, mermaid, a human with powers, vampire, what would you? Fae,
Fae.
Yeah, fae for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, LJ, this has been so much fun. Anything else that you would like to share for the listeners or your readers?
I just love you all so much, and I appreciate everything you've given me by reading my books. But also keep up there will be updates coming, I swear. I know I was vague about certain things. I mean, people can kind of guess, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I'll be updating, and then look for the free stories that will be coming out. So
yep. And people can follow you on Instagram.
Mm-hmm. Or my group is called Wicked Darlings. So LJ's Wicked Darlings. You can go there. That's where I share a lot of behind the scenes. And you get like,
cool.
That's where I'm most active, I would say.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much again, LJ. This was so much fun. Thank you for taking the time, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
You too.
Thanks.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening to this episode with epic romantasy author LJ Andrews, who writes about love, magic, and happily ever afters. This interview was so much fun, and I learned so much about her. My mind was absolutely blown when she shared that she has written over 40 books. That is incredible. Most notably, her series, the Broken Kingdom series, the Eversea series, and soon to be published book 1 of the Broken Souls and Bones series. I really hope that you guys enjoy this conversation. LJ is so wonderful and inspirational. She's a force to be reckoned with. You guys can find her on Instagram. She also has a really great, helpful website. And her books can also be found at any major book retailer, or you can order through your indie bookstore or local library. So thank you everybody for being here. Thank you for joining my podcast focused on celebrating and promoting authors who write fanciful stories that make my heart sing. I want to give everybody a heads up. I will be taking a short break, and I will be back in about a month or so, and I'll be releasing interviews about once a month or so. I really appreciate everybody's support and being here and celebrating these amazing authors, and be prepared for some more deep dives into various writing processes, general life conversations, spicy spice, mental health discussions, favorite tropes, and many tangents. If you're feeling generous, please feel free to leave a 5-star review and rating. Thank you so much, and we'll see you guys soon.